115,741 people were injured in 2020 as a result of someone running a red light, an ongoing issue which has prompted government officials to incentivize people to not run the lights with the help of red light cameras. But this simple tool, which is said to be keeping people from running the lights, has been turned into a multi-million-dollar profiting scheme. Hello people of the internet, I'm Nico, and today I'll be exposing how your local government may be profiting off of you by shortening the red light phases to increase the number of red light tickets. First, I want to clarify exactly what the cameras are even for. The initiative behind using the red light cameras is to penalize anyone who runs a red light, usually a fine of a few $100s. And since nobody wants to pay that, people are more wary of stoplights, which will reduce the number of people who run red lights, and that will in turn reduce the number of crashes that result from people running red lights. Furthermore, running red lights causes hundreds of fatalities and thousands of injuries every single year, and any method that limits that has obvious benefits to the community. A claim which is supported by a study that the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety conducted that found that red lights reduced the fatal red light running crash rate of large cities by 21%. So, the idea behind the cameras is perfectly reasonable, but the way they can, and in some cases have been used, is way corrupt and downright immoral, as you're about to see. And let's start off with the biggest and baddest of them all, Chicago. Back in 2014, the city shortened the yellow phase by a fraction of a second, but this was enough to make a big difference. An $8 million difference, according to the city's inspector general. An additional 77,000 tickets were issued after cameras by a different red light camera company were installed at a number of intersections across the city, generating this colossal revenue. But those $8 million were nothing compared to what the cameras would generate. Outside of the city, the number of cameras had jumped from below 90 to over 300, and with that the revenue increased exponentially, from $5.4 million per year to $56 million per year. And according to IllinoisPolicy.org, that was just as much money as the cameras within the city were generating. Here's the kicker. The Illinois Policy Institute published a comprehensive report in 2019 of red light cameras throughout the state, and it found that the devices had taken over $1 billion from drivers over the course of 10 years. And that is merely one example of this money-making scheme. Fremont, California in 2016 had to refund over $490,000 after it was revealed that two intersections had their yellow phase shortened from 4.7 seconds to 4 seconds. Then there's Colorado Springs, a different place with a similar story. According to KOA.com, the channel News 5 tried to investigate the issue of yellow light timing and went to ask the city's traffic engineer, Todd Frisbee, yes, that is his real name, about the issue. Ultimate Frisbee Dude declined to speak with News 5 with the use of a spokesperson and went on to decline interviews for the rest of the month in which News 5 was pursuing this topic. And I've got to admit, when a public official won't talk about something that is public knowledge, it is definitely fair to assume that something fishy is going on behind the scenes. Especially when there's people like Sheila Dunn of the National Motorists Association saying, quote, "A lot of municipalities do this to balance the city budget. They calculate how much money they're going to be making and it's really policing for profit." Dunn also said to News 5 after being posed the question if a 1 second difference has any real impact that, quote, "Many communities, it's even shown that when they increase the yellow light, there doesn't need to be cameras anymore." And speaking of Sheila Dunn and the organization she's with, the National Motorists Association has published guidelines on how long a yellow light should be, which I've linked in the description below, and they've also published a formula where you can calculate the appropriate minimum yellow light time for any given intersection. So here I am in an intersection with one of Tuscaloosa's 9 red light cameras, all of which earned the city over $1.7 million by the way, and now I'm going to time how long the yellow phase is. But before I do, two things to note about this intersection. One is that it is not flat ground, and as I don't know the exact steepness of it, my calculation won't be the most accurate, but I estimated it to be a 1% decline. The other thing to note is that it is a 55 mile per hour zone. For that speed, the National Motorists Association recommends a minimum of 6 seconds, the Alabama Department of Transportation recommends a minimum of 5.7 seconds, and my calculation yielded 5.17 seconds on the basis that the approach velocity was at the speed limit of 55 miles per hour. Now let's see how long the yellow phase really is. That is considerably shorter than the recommended times by both the Alabama Department of Transportation and the National Motorists Association. Let me repeat that. That is considerably shorter than the recommended times. Currently, there is no federal legislature stating exact limits on how short a yellow light is allowed to be, which means that it's up to the local and state governments to determine the appropriate time interval, whatever they determine appropriate to be. So, to all of you watching, I implore you to share this video with everyone you know. Make them aware of this issue, an issue that is costing us, the American people, millions of dollars and likely endangering our communities. Make sure that if you get a red light ticket that the yellow light is set at a reasonable time, and if it isn't, contest that ticket in court so that we can remove any corrupt government officials from their offices. Spread the message, people of the internet, #LongerYellow.